welcome to episode 182 of Coach Quip. I'm Coach Chris.
I'm Coach Robyn, and today we're talking about cross-training.
Cross-training options.
I mean, we get this question. There's a lot of confusion. It's like saying, what is tempo pace to runners?
Ooh, future episode.
Oh my goodness, that is a rabbit hole, right? But people talk about cross-training a lot, and, we want to give you some options for what truly count as cross-training. But first, let's talk about what cross-training isn't.
Yeah, it's not strength training.
Oh my goodness. Let's repeat that. Cross-training is not strength training. That is not, is strength training not running? Sure, that is true, but it is a thing in and of itself. Cross-training is doing an alternative to cardio-wise to your traditional sport, ideally with a little bit less wear and tear on your body.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, the idea is to get that cardio stimulus. Like I'm thinking about runners, right? So we're going to go through a bunch of options for cross-training for runners, but the idea is to still get your heart rate up, maybe a little bit heavier breathing, or use it as active recovery, but not to have the pounding that your main sport has every single day. How can you have a little bit of variety?
My tri-coach always said, I remember this vividly in Training Peaks, that cross-training days, which you actually you do, especially in your base phase, have a fair amount of those, were to flush the mush. And I steal that all the time. It is true. It is, they're perfectly positioned after long or hard efforts,
yep,
or in between those, to kind of just beef up your overall training volume and really help kind of flush some of the junk in your muscles and get, like you said, your heart rate up without further wear and tear.
I use it as a coach as mental reset for my athletes.
Yeah, it is way more fun.
I'll put in, I call my cross-training days a flex day, and they get to choose, do you want to do elliptical, swim, rowing, whatever options I give them, and I'll give them times for each, but they get to make that decision, and for
choose
a lot of people... Choose your own
adventure.
Yeah, and that can be exciting for people if they are just feeling really fatigued from always doing the same thing.
I love it.
So let's talk about some cross-training options. First up is elliptical machine. People have a love-hate relationship with the elliptical.
What do they hate about it?
I don't know. I really like it, but people have strong opinions.
They do.
Elliptical.
It is divisive.
Elliptical machine is the cross-training option that's going to most closely mirror running in terms of the movement, but has far less impact because you are not landing with the force of your body weight underneath you.
Yeah, it's much more fluid.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can also improve strength and coordination, especially the ones that also use the hands. So there are two different versions of elliptical, right? Well, I think there's a lot more versions now. There's the funky side ones. Have you seen those ones?
That are free floating.
Yep. But just talking about the typical forward back elliptical machine, it's also a really, really great option if people are coming off of injury or coming back into running because it so closely mirrors the motion of running.
But if you're coming into, or if you're dealing or navigating an injury, I will say this one, as a coach, I still consider weight bearing. So if you have, especially a lower body injury, maybe just make sure this puppy is green lit before you use it, especially in any type of high dose. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I think I might have a tibial stress fracture again or stress reaction, so I'm just going to do 2 hours on the elliptical instead. And I'm like, no, that is still, you're still bearing the brunt of your weight, at least at one times your body weight. So, kind of proceed with caution on this one a little bit.
Yeah.
Next up is biking. We love for runners, we love a cycling moment, as long as you stay upright, right? It does require slightly different muscle groups, but it still provides some really great cardio stimulus. We'll talk about this when we talk about swimming too, but biking in general, Joel Friel, his heart rate zones, he posits that it's anywhere from like 8 to 12 beats lower for your max heart rate on biking versus running, which is pretty freaking close if you think about it. So the bike fitness, your heart really does not know. Your heart and lungs don't know the difference. It's just like, oh, awesome, we're exerting ourselves. Muscles are working. It's similar to running. So you're getting a lot of really great fitness from it. But again, because you are hopefully in a seated position, you are not getting that wear and tear. A few things to note. Do I think that doing a bunch of soul cycle is a great option from a biking cross-training definition? No. Is it fun? Sure. But it's going to be out of the saddle. It's not going to be as restorative. You're not getting as many benefits when you're pairing it directly with a run program. So that is not something that I would say go for it. The other thing with biking that I cannot say this enough is please know what you're doing when it comes to bike fit. So it's very easy to just look up some basic things of how your leg position needs to be. If you have bars that can be adjusted front and back, even if this is a stationary bike, get someone to help you of what it should feel like and look like, and know your numbers, especially if you're using the same bike over and over, like the same stationary bike. It's really easy to dial in. If you are going to be biking and using it as a true cross training, and you are going to be owning a bike, please get it fit. This is coming from someone who, when I got into cycling with longer distance tries, I bought a bike. It was I got a quick fit when I bought it. I caused what ended up being a 3-year injury. I mean, thousands of dollars. I thought it was running that it was injuring me. It was my bike fit, and it was specifically my labrum, my hip labrum. And it was a tri bike, so that those numbers are a little bit harder, right? And a little wrong goes, unfortunately, very powerfully in the wrong direction. But if you are dialed in to a bike, and we do bike fittings here at Edge with Ed Daly, if you have another bike fit option, go for it. Just get it done. It can then be used as a true and perfect tool as cross training. So as run coaches, we cannot say that enough. If you're going to be doing anything substantive, please get it fit to you.
Yep. So next up is swimming. Love swimming for cardio. I don't love swimming. Let's be clear. Your head snapped over. I don't like swimming.
Someone avoid swimming.
Because this mustache goes right into my mouth. I tried it.
Get a little swim caps.
Oh my gosh, it was so gross. I need to figure something out. But swimming, very different requirements for your body versus running and elliptical and even cycling. It's great cardio. It's very low impact. And it's really good for balancing your body.
Yeah, in space, because you're floating.
But also, because of the muscles that you're using, a lot of runners ignore their upper body.
Yeah.
And, we know that how you move your arms and how your shoulders are positioned can really impact your run form. And swimming is just great to do a lot of balancing in a way that that we don't do in the gym and that we won't ever get in running. That said, swimming is really specific to form, and dialing in bad form can be really detrimental too. So if you have a swimming background, swimming is a great addition to your cross training. If not, it's worth it to get a lesson so that you can figure out what to do and how to effectively use it. Even our most fit runners can struggle in the pool.
Yeah.
Breathing
it's
on
very
land,
humbling.
Oh, so humbling. Breathing on land, very different than breathing in the water. So I think it's just a great way to get out of your own head when you are exclusively doing running.
Swimming is actually one of the few cardio exercises too that stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system too. So that whole like rest and digest. This is why you get so hungry after swimming.
Oh my gosh.
Not necessarily like threshold swimming, but the way that we'd use it for cross training. Yeah. My old pool used to be next to a bagel shop, and let me tell you, that was a match made in heaven for Robyn. But it's really, I have athletes that when they're similar to how you might use biking as a cross training, if their life load is high and we're marathon training and they're building, me just throwing in maybe once every 10 days a swim gives that just complete chill out that they really, really need.
That's great.
One other note on swimming, just to be mindful of, water is 12 times as dense as air. 12 times. That's way more dense, right? So when we're swimming in a pool and it's 25 meters, if we're swimming for 30 minutes, let's say, you might be pushing off the wall 50 to 60 times, which is huge. If you're pushing off the wall with 2 feet 50, 60 times, that's like doing a ton of calf work. This is why people get a lot of cramps or their feet cramp up. So just be mindful of like not blowing yourself up off the wall. All of the beautiful things of swimming that are really helping running are happening inside of the 4 walls. So I'll actually do a touch turn, even though I know how to flip turn. I'll do a touch and turn, and this just very gently push off every time so that I'm not blowing up my low legs. All right, this one is hiking. So I also sometimes will put in I don't have it as, I'm sure, phrased as fun as you, but like a cross training, choose your own adventure day. And I'll put hiking or time in nature on there. We love a time in our feet, right? And it's great because when we're walking, we're never in flight, right? So we're truly kind of like the elliptical, only having 1 times our body weight at any given time. If you're doing this, I've had athletes that want to go onto a mountain excursion in the middle of marathon training. The cool part is honestly, you can get your heart rate up, especially if you're dealing with things like altitude and elevation, just as high as running. If you're going to be doing this like from a, let's go somewhere crazy and do it standpoint. And if you're tackling anything up, it's so great for your posterior chain, like the entire backside of your body, which frankly, running flat here, we don't get very much effort at ever. And then when we're descending, we're getting a lot of work on the front side of our body, which we do get running flat, but overloading it is also cool. So it's like also really sneaky balance training as well. We will say with hiking, is just make sure that you have the right shoes. So if it's somewhere around here, chances are a good trail shoe or something with a lot of traction is going to help, because you are going to be dealing with a lot more stabilizing than you're used to. And if it's cross training, we want it to not leave a super big mark. If you're going to be one of those athletes that goes and does a 3-day hike across the mountains, please make sure to wear great boots that you've been fit to, so that your body can do the work and you're not having to, again, blow up areas of your body that don't know how to work that way.
Yeah, that's a good reminder here. We didn't have it on our list initially, but walking, and particularly walking on an incline, can be great cross-training too. I would say just a regular stroll around the neighborhood. Walking your dog, sorry athletes, doesn't
especially the
count.
pugs, that's way too slow.
Doesn't quite count. But walking on that incline, like you said, for all those reasons, posterior chain, just getting the heart rate up, that can be a really great addition too. But yeah, hiking, especially when you get that nature fix.
Yeah, Florence Williams sneaking her way in to everything.
Next up is rowing. Great cardio, great total body workout, strong benefits for your core, totally different than what you would be doing otherwise. And Edge just got a rowing machine.
It's funny because when I hear it, I'm like, what is it? I'm like, oh, someone's on the rower. Yeah, it's great. It's really fluid. I think it happened. Yep. It's a very natural movement pattern for people, and so I think they gravitate toward it. Yep. It is also crazy what you can get done in 5 minutes on a rower. You're like, whoa, right? I think I did like 10 or 12 minutes for one of my athletes that doesn't normally row, and he did it, but I was like, wow, your heart rate got up there. So it's another really great one for that upper body balancing too, similar to swimming.
We've got a couple of other options that we won't go too big into detail with. I mean, these are ones that I don't prescribe for my athletes.
Unless they really want it.
Unless they want it, and if they can choose on flex day to do this. But yoga and Pilates, I would say this one for me is not necessarily a one-to-one cross-training sort of option, right? Because it's not getting your heart rate up in the same way, and that's sort of what I'm thinking about. But in terms of different movement patterns, this is a great way to reset. I would say this one probably goes closer to swimming in terms of rebalancing. We also have dance, Zumba, ski erg. We have a ski erg at Edge, and wow, is that brutal. That's another one. That's like...
It's a fun one. A little bit goes a long way.
Oof, yeah. Those are cool because something like that, something like the assault bike, and rowing could be interval style for your training as opposed to just being a steady state like a hike might be. So yeah, it's just another option of ways to switch it up.
Yep. Feel powerful. Woo! Okay. I feel like I should go and get on the bike or something now.
I'm going to go do some yoga.
All right. Happy cross training, everyone. We hope this helped, and see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Coach Quip. Original music performed by Mend. Follow us online on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Edge Athlete Lounge. Our podcast lives in the blog section of our website. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast, and you can check out the show notes for additional ways to contact us. Ready, set, onward we go.